Hi friends, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley if this is your first time here. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. Today, we are organizing my library. It has been quite some time, probably like 6 or 7 months since I've actually gone through all of my books and tried to decide what I want to keep, what I want to get rid of, and today's the day. It's a new year. It is a goal for me to get this library under control and organized, and it's just time. So first things first, I'm going to go through every one of my shelves and kind of decide like what I want to keep, what I don't want to keep. I'm also going to keep a running total of how many unread books I have on hand because it is a goal this year for me to read down my physical TBR. I know that I probably should not bring any more books into my library, and honestly, I don't think I'll have the time this year to really read any new books that are coming out that are not like highly anticipated. So I need to get a good snapshot of what I already have on hand. Next, I'm going to go through the books that I'm kind of on the fence about whether or not I want to keep or unhaul. If they're books that I've already read, I'm really going to decide like what is the chance of me actually rereading this book. And if it's books that I have not read, I'm going to separate them into stacks. One stack is going to be the absolute unhaul pile, and then the other stack is going to be my self-destruct stack. Now, if you have been here for a while, you know that last year I created a self-destruct stack, and I said that if I do not read those books by the end of 2024, then it's time for them to go. None of those books have gotten read, so today will probably be the day that I completely unhaul those books and get rid of them. This is going to be a task. I have the shelves behind me that I have to go through. I have another freestanding shelf over here, and then another mini shelf within my closet area of this room. And yeah, it's a lot, but I'm going to go through all of them today. I'm going to get all of my books organized, and we are going to go into 2025 with a clear plan on reading down this library. Okay, so phase one of going through my books is over. As I went through my shelves, I did pull books down that immediately kind of stood out to me as books that I no longer wanted to keep, and then the books that I'm kind of on the fence about. It's a mixture of books that I've already read that I don't see myself rereading, and some books that I have not read yet that I'm, like I said, on the fence about. So the next phase that I am going to work through is I am really going to get into books to see, do I really still have interest in them? And this for me is the harder part of this entire project because I have crazy FOMO. I bought these books at some point in my life, which means they did give me some type of interest. So what I plan to do right now is like really look at each shelves, start reading the back of books to see if I'm still interested. When I was going through this the first time, there is a shelf over here on what I'm calling my YA bookcase that I am very uncertain about. It has the Caraval series on there. I was not crazy about book one, but like, do I continue the series so I can keep reading from the author and decide if she's somebody that I want to read from? I also have these first 4 books of the Vampire Academy because I got the box set for really cheap at a thrift store, and vampires, I'm intrigued. And then we have like the first 7 or 8 books of, I think it's called the House of Night series, that I got when the authors were supposed to be at a Polycon, and I had plans to read that series. It is an older YA, I believe paranormal series, but I haven't really showed interest, and I've tried to read it one time but didn't fall into it. I also have the Shatter Me series, the entire thing, and I did really like Shatter Me. I feel like that's a book I would have to reread again before I continue. And so yeah, I mean, like, I have books that I really need to determine, like, am I still completely invested in reading the series, or is it time to let it go? And then I do have about 15 to 30 historical books that at one point in time I really did want to read. I'm like very invested in it, but I have yet to grab one of them. So that's what I'm going to do now. I am going to really look at everything that's on my shelves and determine if I will actually be keeping them. I will be back with another update after I do that. Okay, I'm checking in. I did take a little break to eat and then got right back to it as far as going through the books that I kept on my shelves and just kind of reading the back, making sure everything that I decided to keep I actually want. I have cleared out quite a bit of space on multiple shelves. My goal right now though is reorganization. So every book that I plan to keep are either on my shelves or my book carts or in these two stacks, which these two stacks are books that I hauled the last quarter of the year, so they just need to find a home. But I want to do something a little bit different with my arrangement, and basically my goal is to have the books that I'm most excited about getting to on my book cart, and then kind of have everything else on the shelves. And so right now I'm going to get into the organizing phase of this. Hopefully I do not lose too much lighting. I do have my studio lights set up, so I'll turn those on if need be. But the first thing I'm going to do is clear off my book cart and then start going through like my shelves in these stacks for my most anticipated reads of the year that are on my shelves, and then organize those. This feels very chaotic. Hopefully this video comes together nicely. It is a new day. Yesterday, doing all the organizing and rearranging just kind of wore me out, and I figured I would update you all and let you know how everything landed, how the dust settled today. First, I want to walk you through a room tour of my office slash library and let you see how I decided to set everything up for 2025. So let's hop right into that. So when you first come into my office, over here I have my writing desk where all the magic happens. But this is a new setup for me this year. And then here we have my book cart that has my highly anticipated reads for 2025. My goal with this cart is to, as I'm reading books and pulling books off of here, to replace them with new books that I'm excited about, but to always have this cart filled with books that I'm excited to get to immediately. This first bookshelf here has my romance reads. It's a mixture of things. We got the rom-coms, we got the sports romance, we got historical. Mainly everything over here is all romance until we get down to this bottom shelf down here, and then we do have some like mystery and thriller. This middle shelf contains mostly fantasy. Actually, I think this middle shelf has all fantasy reads on it, and then I just displayed my special editions with sprayed edges and different things like that. But that top shelf is Sarah J. Maas. This middle shelf is mainly Jennifer L. Armentrout, and then the rest of it is just a mixture of different fantasy reads. And then the shelf over here, we go into like my YA section, I didn't even realize I had this many YA books, but we have YA, like the first 4 shelves, and then once we get down to the bottom, there are some more thriller and horror books down there. And then moving over here, we have this little book tree that my husband got me a couple of years ago for Christmas that has like some series that I'm interested in getting into. And then when we get down here, we have my self-destruct stacked. I do have a floating bookshelf that I plan to put up somewhere in here to hold those books. And then in this little closet area over here is my little mini bookshelf, and most of these books are books that I have already read outside of the Game of Thrones books. And then down here on the bottom I have like self-help and like spiritual books. And then over here I have my unhaul stack that I plan to get rid of. Now that you've seen my library setup, the next thing that I wanted to show you is my self-destruct list. I did this last year, and I'll be honest with you, I did not read one book off of that self-destruct list. And full transparency, there was about 5 books that I did end up keeping. 4 of them are on my self-destruct list this year. We shall see how it all shakes out, but I want to show you this stack, and hopefully I will get to these books by the end of the year, and if not, they should probably find a new home. The first book on this list is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I know next to nothing about what this book is about. I had a friend 2 years ago that I kind of gave control over my TBR, and this is one of the books that she added to that list, and I just hadn't gotten to it yet, but I am very interested in reading work by Neil Gaiman, so that's how this book ended up here. I do have a couple of other books by him on my Kindle, but I think this is like a YA, or I'm not 100% sure. Yes, I think it's a YA. So I am excited to read something from him, but I know that I need to prioritize it, which is why I put it in this stack. And yeah, so we shall see how I feel about this book. Next 4 books are books that were on my self-destruct list from last year that I just was not ready to completely let go of. And the first book from that is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. And I will say I probably made it about between like 25 to 40% of this book when I read it the first time, and I was really enjoying it. I think what I'm going to try to do this year is listen to the audiobook while reading it and just see if that helps at all. But I was enjoying it in the beginning, and then it just never really hooked me and never really pulled me in. So I do want to try to see if I feel differently about it, reading it a different time, give it another chance, and if not, then obviously it's time to let it go. The next book is The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah, and I have started this book as well. I think I only got maybe 2 to 4 chapters in, and again, it was something that didn't just hook me right away, but I am interested overall in this story, and I want to give it another chance. And you know, that's pretty much where we are. I know nothing about what is going on in these books, but again, I want to give it another chance to see if I like it and officially add it to my shelves for good, or if it's just time to let it go. The next book is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, and I did struggle with this book only because I have read Caravel, and I did make the decision to continue that series. I'll probably read Caravel again to see if I have a different experience, maybe listen to it before I continue on with that series, but I believe this is the series that comes after that, and I just couldn't in good conscience get rid of it yet without giving the main series another chance, and that's why I'm keeping this book, but it is going to be on this list for the year. And then the last book that is kind of rolling over from last year is Poster Girl by Veronica Roth. I believe I said this last year. I am the biggest Divergent series fan. I love those books. I plan to reread those books very soon, especially because I acquired the book 4 and I have not read it yet. And I just want to know, you know, how the story is going to be told through his perspective. But I am a fan of Veronica Roth. I have not read anything else from her. I'm not even sure if she's written anything else other than this and the Divergent series, but I want to give it another opportunity. Not a fan of this cover. This is my Fairy Loot edition. When I think I signed up for the Fairy Loot adult box book only a couple of years ago, and this was the first book that came in that, and like I said, was not a fan of the cover, but I do want to give it a chance. I feel like she writes really good books, and yeah, so we shall see. So that was the last of books that kind of rolled over from last year's list. Next is all new books that I pulled off of my shelves that are definite, like, finish them this year or let them go. First book is When Life Gives You Vampires by Gloria Duke. While this seems very intriguing, I don't really know if my interest is very high with it. Every once in a while, I have the urge to pull a cartoon cover down, and I think if I get that urge, I will lean toward this maybe. But we know I love vampires, so I do want to give this a fair opportunity before getting rid of it. I didn't feel right just putting it in my unhaul stack, but maybe one day we shall see, hopefully. The next book is Graceling by Kristen Cashore, and again, this is one that I just in good conscience wasn't ready to give it away without giving it a shot. One thing that I did try to do yesterday whenever I was going through my shelves was to see if any of the books are available at the library so that maybe I can listen to them and read them at the same time. I could not get rid of this without giving it a chance. Also, it's an extremely beautiful cover, and I'm hoping it's an equally beautiful story, but we shall see. This is a book that I was excited about reading whenever I got it, so maybe that excitement will come back to me. The next book that I'm going to talk about may get the girlies going, because I know this is a book talk, bookstagram darling, but I feel like when I picked it up, it was because of the popularity and not really because of interest, and that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I've had it for at least 3 years now. I have never reached for this book, and I'm not huge on Greek mythology. I think it's very interesting when it comes up in stories, and I would like to be more involved or learn more about it, but again, this book has never appealed to me. It's never piqued my interest enough to pull it off of my shelves, so I'm hoping with it being in these stacks, I will eventually pick it up and read it. The next two books I'm going to talk about together because they are in the same series, and that is Boyfriend Material and Husband Material. And I did pick Boyfriend Material up after Red, White, and Royal Blue because I really enjoyed that story. I do believe I unhauled it last year because it was just not one that I felt like I was going to reread. But I've heard very mixed signals about this series, so I don't really know if I care to dive into them. I don't know. I thought about giving it a chance. I do know that my library holds both of these copies, and I might listen to it that way and just make room on my shelves, but we shall see. I know I do have another book by Alexis Hall that I got at a Polycon last year, and my goal when I first got that book was like, oh, maybe I'll read all 3 of these in one reading vlog and see if this author is for me, but it never really came to that. So we shall see if I get to these books before the end of the year. The next book on my list is Good Girl Complex by Elle Kennedy. I know when I picked this up once upon a time, I was intrigued to read it. I did read The Deal prior to getting this book, and I know those are two like totally different worlds, but I did not mind The Deal. It was one of the first books that I read after joining Bookstagram, and I thought maybe I wanted to read more from this author, which is why I didn't hesitate to reach for this book. But I don't really know if my interest is there anymore. I don't think I realized whenever I bought this that it was going to be a part of a series. I think there's 2 or 3 books that come after this one. So yeah, again, we shall just see if it's something that I gravitate toward and pick up. Next is Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson. And again, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. I have owned this book for a couple of years and never felt the urge to pull it off of my shelves to even think about reading it. So it's like, do I keep it there because it's just taking up space, or do I actually, you know, reach for it? I don't know. Don't know what this book is about, so it'll be a surprise, you know, just like that. Maybe I should like try to do a video of reading books that are on this list to encourage myself to read it, but who knows. And then the last book is Maggie Moves On by Lucy Score, and I've heard not great things about this author and the content that she puts in her books. I'm not 100% sure. I know that I unhauled another one of her series because one of like, I think like the middle book ended up being like a cop romance, and I just don't really have any interest in getting involved in anything like that. But this book piqued my interest when I bought it, and I was excited to read it at the time, just never got around to it. So I may give this book a chance, but it's on this list because I'm just very unsure about this author right now. So that is my list of my self-destruct books that I need to read before the end of the year. And if not, I need to unhaul them and allow them to find another home. If you have read any of those books, please let me know down in the comments. If there's one that you're curious about that you want me to read first, let me know. Or if there's one that you're like, yes, you need to read this book, don't listen to your brain, just read it, then definitely let me know. Lastly, I wanted to give you the numbers of what's going on these shelves behind me. In total, I own 470 books. Of those books, I have read 99. Now, that number is low because I unhauled a lot of books that I had already read that I don't plan to ever reread. But yes, I have read 99 of the 470 books, which leaves 371 unread books. Now, it is my goal this year to read down my physical TPR. I know that that is a task, and even with reading 80 books last year, if I were to just read 80 books this year and it was all from my shelves, I still would be 200 plus, but I feel like I would feel better reading off of my shelves. And I think going through my books yesterday and rearranging and putting things where I will see them, will notice them, will gravitate toward them more, I feel like was a huge help to just have a little touch of reality to say, okay, this is what you have, this is what you're working with, and this is what you need to be reading. I do not need to step foot in a bookstore. I do not need to order anything from Amazon or thrift stores online, anything like that, until I read down my shelves. I'm really trying to hold myself to that this year. As of right now, there are no book conventions on the horizon. I just need to read down my shelves. We're going to check back into me saying that at the end of the year. If you have made it this far in the video, please leave this emoji to let me know that you made it here. And if you like this video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. If you're not already a subscriber here, please subscribe and help me reach my goal of 1,000 new subscribers. And if you are enjoying the content that I am providing here, please make sure you share my channel with your friends and family and bookish buddies so that we can continue to grow this community. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye!